You're standing in a kitchen you've never visited before. Someone says a sentence you've never heard, and for exactly 2 seconds, your entire body is convinced you've lived this moment already. Then it's gone. You blink, and the feeling dissolves, leaving behind a strange kind of dizziness. You just experienced déjà vu, and here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Your brain didn't malfunction when that happened. It worked exactly as it was designed to. The unsettling part is what that design reveals about what a memory actually is. Let's start with what déjà vu is not. It's not a glimpse of a past life. It's not proof of some parallel timeline bleeding into this one. Researchers who study this phenomenon for a living will tell you something far stranger. Déjà vu isn't a message from somewhere else. It's a glitch in a system that usually works so well you never notice it running. That system is your memory's error-checking process. Think about what your brain does every single moment you're awake. It's constantly comparing what you're experiencing right now to everything you've experienced before. Not through some careful conscious search. It happens instantly, silently, thousands of times a day. Walk into a room. Your brain checks. Have I been here? Do I know this person? Is this situation safe? Almost always the answer comes back clearly. New room, new person. No match found. But sometimes the system produces a false positive. The psychologist Anne Cleary has spent years running experiments specifically designed to trigger this false positive in a lab setting. Her approach is clever. She has participants explore virtual environments, then later shows them new environments that share a similar spatial layout to ones they've already seen, but with completely different visual details. A living room shaped like one they toured before, but with unfamiliar furniture and colors. The result? People report déjà vu, not because they'd actually been there, because the layout matched something buried in memory, even though the surface details were entirely new. This tells you something important. Déjà vu isn't triggered by whole memories. It's triggered by fragments, a shape, a rhythm of movement, an arrangement of objects in space. Your brain doesn't need the full scene to match. It just needs enough of a pattern to raise a flag, and that flag says, "This feels familiar." But here's where it gets genuinely strange. Feeling familiar and actually remembering are two completely different mental processes. You can have one without the other. Déjà vu happens when you get a strong hit of familiarity, but no accompanying memory to explain it. Your brain says, "I know this," while simultaneously failing to produce any evidence for how it knows. Imagine your memory system as two separate departments that usually communicate perfectly. One department handles the feeling of familiarity, the other handles actual retrieval, pulling up the specific when and where. Normally, these two departments report to you together seamlessly, so fast you don't notice they're separate at all. Déjà vu happens in the split second when one department fires and the other doesn't. The neuroscientist Akira O'Connor has studied this using something you wouldn't expect: hypnosis. In his research, participants were hypnotized and given false memories of events that never happened, then later shown scenarios connected to those false memories. When the fake memory was triggered without being fully recalled, participants reported the eerie sensation of déjà vu, even knowing consciously that nothing matched. That detail matters enormously. It shows that déjà vu isn't about accuracy. It's about a mismatch between confidence and evidence. Your brain is essentially raising its hand and saying, "I recognize this," and then immediately failing to justify why. And that gap between the two is what you feel as the shiver of déjà vu. Here's something else that should surprise you. Déjà vu happens more often in young people than in older adults, and it becomes rarer as you age. That seems backwards, doesn't it? You'd expect a system with more memories stored up to make more mistakes, not fewer. But the psychologist Alan Brown, who has spent decades studying this phenomenon, points to a different explanation. Déjà vu peaks in your teens and 20s and then steadily declines through your 30s, 40s, and beyond. His theory connects this to how sharp your memory's checking system is during those years. A younger brain is running more active comparisons more frequently at higher sensitivity. More checks means more opportunities for a false alarm. As you age, that system doesn't necessarily get worse. It may simply get quieter. Fewer active comparisons running in the background means fewer chances for the wires to cross. There's another theory worth understanding, one that treats deja vu less like an error and more like a safety feature. Some researchers frame it as evidence that your brain's fact-checking system is working correctly, not incorrectly. Under this view, deja vu is what it feels like when your brain catches itself almost making a mistake. It flags a false sense of familiarity, examines it, and then corrects course by telling you consciously, this doesn't actually match anything real. In that framing, deja vu isn't your memory failing you. It's your memory catching itself failing and telling you about it. A checksum passing, not a corruption. That reframes the entire experience. Instead of a mysterious glitch, deja vu becomes proof that somewhere deep in your brain, an enormously complicated verification process is running constantly, silently, and almost flawlessly, checking every moment of your life against everything that came before it. The one time you consciously notice it happening is the rare moment it briefly stumbles. Think about how much this system does without you ever realizing it. Every face you recognize on the street. Every song that feels instantly familiar within the first 3 notes. Every room you walk into and instantly know whether it's yours. All of that runs on the same underlying machinery that occasionally misfires and gives you déjà vu. You just never notice the process because it's usually right. Déjà vu is the one moment your brain's invisible bookkeeping becomes visible. For 2 or 3 uncomfortable seconds, you get to watch the machinery of memory in action, mismatched and exposed, before it quietly recalibrates and moves on. So, the next time it happens to you, standing somewhere new, hearing something you swear you've heard before, resist the temptation to treat it as mystical. What you're feeling isn't a message from the past. It's not a crack in reality. It's your memory system, the same one that lets you recognize your own home, your own name, your own face in the mirror, briefly tripping over itself in the dark. For a few seconds, something ancient and automatic inside you looked for a matching memory, found a fragment that almost fit, and told you it had found the whole thing. You're standing in a kitchen you've never visited before, and for exactly 2 seconds, that uncertainty is the most honest your brain has been with you all day.